And we're in Napier for this one on the east coast of the North Island, and we've already seen the wet conditions that await France and Canada. And Sean, I wouldn't imagine that the French are really fancying this one.
No, it looks as though it's bucketing down there in Napier. It depends which French team turns up. The Japanese threw everything at them in the opening game, who played very well, the Japanese, and the French scored a few tries. But for me, Canada, that's probably the upset of, other than yesterday's Ireland over Australia, was probably the upset of the tournament to date, beating Tonga. I thought they played very well. They turned up, they wanted to play rugby, coached by an ex-All Black in Kieran Crowley. But I thought Canada played very well, but you'd think on the names on the sheet that France would be too strong. Yeah,
I think Canada are just about unchanged for this. But we can't make head or tail of France over the course of the last 3 or 4 months. What is Marc Livremont up to, do you feel, in terms of his team selection and the way he's switching things around?
I don't, he's just being a typical Frenchman. You criticise, you hug, you laugh, you cry sometimes. But if you look at the opportunity that France has got now, given the result yesterday, where Ireland beat Australia, so we're actually going into a Northern Hemisphere and a Southern Hemisphere pool. And France, if you look at that, they will be playing, I think, England. And after England, if they beat England on the form today, they might beat England. Then you could see a 1987 repeat final. Yeah. We all say that it's New Zealand's World Cup to lose, so you might get New Zealand and France. But for them to do that, they need to start firing on cylinders. And what is quite strange for me in this World Cup is that the coaches have come into this tournament, and there are a couple of the key teams where they're not sure of 1 or 2 key positions, especially the halfback pairing. And again, today for the French, we got Morgan Parra and Francois Trinduc. It's a change in halfback pairing. Don't know what to make of that. Yeah,
Livremont isn't entirely sure about the whole lineup.
No, and we shouldn't be surprised by that, because it's nothing new. I think since he's come in and taken over the reins as French coach, he's been through virtually every player in France. I mean, he hasn't picked himself yet, but he really has gone through the whole lot. And as a player,
but what does this do to the squad? I mean, the morale within the French camp is pretty low, isn't it?
It just creates uncertainty. Keep chopping and changing, players. And I mean, sometimes with the French, they've got so many talented players in their country in so many different positions that, that they're almost in a position of luxury where they don't know who to pick. But, they're renowned for having, some wonderful, back play, but it doesn't really look, does it, like the weather for the backs today. And similar to England, this Canadian team will, similar to Georgia, the Canadian team are strong up front, and the French forwards must really get on top of this game if they're to come out, because having played Canada a few times, they've got that ice hockey background, and most of their players would have been brought up, playing ice hockey, and they'll be physical and they'll be up for it.
And I think that's what the French can bring to it, the physicality, and they've just got to get on. They like touring New Zealand. They've had huge success in New Zealand. And obviously, I would imagine, as Francois mentioned, they probably are thinking about 1987 in terms of World Cups.
Yeah. But they're another side like Georgia that we've just seen, like Samoa that we saw earlier in the morning, playing their second game in some 5 days. It is so tough on these second-tier sides, it's almost unfair.
Yeah, they get it tough, especially playing against Tonga, a very physical team, and then to have to back up in 4 or 5 days. They haven't got a lot of depth. But a massive game for France in light of what's going to happen in 6 days' time when they face New Zealand to decide who will play at the top of the pool.
Key for me in these games, if France start well and they put some points on the board, then Canada would start forcing play. If they start badly and Canada squeeze out a penalty and maybe even a try, then you're in for a scrap. And you don't want to be in a scrap. Right. We've seen in many of these games, you get into a scrap, the second-tier nations, this is their test match, so they've prepared for it with everything they've got. And once they have a sniff, hey, we can overturn these guys, it's a very difficult game.
So finally, Lawrence, the impossible question in international rugby: what do you expect from France?
Well, if the forwards front up, and I'd expect them, 1 to 8, they've got to be prepared to play with the ball, pick and go, really take the game. It's not the weather conditions to mess around. It's going to be played between number 1 and number 10 today.
OK, in the reign of Napier, it's France against Canada, and our commentators are Scott Hastings and Martin Gillingham.
Thank you, Steve. The body language over the past week between France coach Marc Livremont and his squad suggests not all is sweetness and light, with an undercurrent of disharmony running through the French camp. And that'll be a source of encouragement to Canada, who are among the most improved sides in World Rugby. They're the only side here at the World Cup unbeaten in 2011. So, just 11 changes in personnel made by Lièvremont. He is to France what Claudio Ranieri once was to Chelsea. Just Servat, Tranduc, Claire and Rougerie remain from the side, given a scare up on the North Shore last weekend. Mind you, even Rougerie isn't immune to alteration. He switched from centre to the wing and given the captaincy. Canada have had just 4 days to come down from the highs of beating Tonga and then raise themselves again for an even greater challenge here. Coach Kieran Crowley is working on the theory of continuity in a winning side and the momentum it builds. So no changes to the 22. Jamie Cudmore lines up against 4 colleagues from Clermont-Auvergne. Once the referee's whistle has been blown, hooker Guillaume Gerardo will be one of just 2 members of the France 30 yet to have seen any game time. Canada's Scott Franklin plays for one of the best named clubs in world rugby. They're the Prairie Wolfpack. So driving rain for the last 2 hours. Good for the grapes. What will it do for the rugby? Large French support here. Many of them will have vivid memories of the first tournament 24 years ago. Well, the stage is set at McLean Park in Napier. It's a wet old night. It's France-Canada next. Craig Joubert is the referee from South Africa. Canada won the toss. They're going to play from right to left. France against the Canucks. David Marty, part of an all-Pevignon centre combination. Well, alongside me, Scott Hastings, former British Lion. former Scotland international. Big game for France at the weekend in particular, but they can't afford to take their eyes off the ball here, can they?
No, absolutely. They had their fright against Japan and they're throwing it from wide, so that's a statement of intent from France. They must get the solidity in their performance because the big one comes up next, but they have to concentrate for the full 80 against Canada.
Well, we saw an intention there of France to spread the ball wide. There's Morgan Parra, who finished the match off on the North Shore playing at fly half. There's Maxime Mermoz. Mermoz, one of the most gifted centres in European rugby, certainly. He's been troubled by injury over the course of the last couple of seasons, though. That's Marshall. And look at the water there. A very decent day in Napier earlier on, but then the heavens opened 2 hours ago. Oh, Jeb Sinclair just getting a little bit in the way there, but the referee has blown his whistle. And it will be a penalty to Canada.
Number 4, blue. Yeah, Pascal Papi just coming in offside there under Monroe with the overhead pass, and it'll give Canada an early chance. And we can't underestimate the amount of rain that's just fallen on top of McLean Park over the last 2 hours, and it's still coming down.
Well, the Canada kicker, James Pritchard, if you're fans of Bedford in the Championship, you recognise him. He's been there for a decade or more. His kicking percentages last season in the Championship, 82%, which is right up there. Got off to a decent start against Tonga. Successful with 4 out of 5. Which even with my vague grasp of mathematics equals 80%. But it's a different test here. Not much wind, but he'll have to be very wary of the non-kicking foot. Pritchard to open the scoring. And it's a very pure strike indeed. That'll do wonders for the confidence.
Just looking around the ground, there's so many Canadian flag supporters here as well. The atmosphere building towards this. This has given Canada a great fillip to start the game.
So Francois Tranduc has his hands on the ball. Tranduc with the departure of David Skrella, who picked up a shoulder injury. Really the only specialist option at 10 for Marc Lièvremont. Although Morgan Parra, as I stressed if you're watching the game at the weekend against Japan, did play a lot of his early rugby at 10 for Bourgoin. And the Monroe finding touch.
You know, I'm always fascinated when you come up against a France side. How are they going to play? Well, they first of all started with handling the ball down in their own 22, switching play. Then they had a switch kick-off there. You just do not know what style of game they're going to play.
Julien Bonner there, just confirming the line-out call. He adds an extra dimension in the line-out to France. The big fella from Clermont-Auvergne. Jamie Cudmore in there for Canada. He knows Monsieur Bonner very well. There goes Mermoz, who was the 12 of choice for Marc Lièvremont at the start of the Six Nations, but he picked up a shoulder injury which required surgery in the opening game against Scotland. There goes Pape, a try scorer against Japan, when really we saw the best and the worst of French rugby. There's Louis Picamole with the old tree trunk thighs. Takes a lot of knocking down. He's got very soft hands as well. Parra back to Tranduc, who hoists it high. Here's a test for Pritchard of a different kind now. It's gone through the hands. It's gathered by Vincent Clerc. And Vincent Clerc has maintained a remarkable record. He's scored a try on each of his last 4 starts for France, and now he's made it 5.
Well, you can just see how slippy it is. And the up and under fell into the supporting French winger. Really, you just felt there wasn't enough depth on that ball in the kick. Clark, the beneficiary of the tap back, just picks up well. You won't score an easier try than that for France.
Well, the two Canadians rather getting in one another's way. It really was the full-back's ball. A real gift there to the Toulouse wing. 5 of the starting 15 here play for the French champions Toulouse. There's Morgan Parra of Clermont-Auvergne, the former champions. With just a little stab with the left foot. Nicely done by Morgan Parra. Well, what a way to bite back. The tactic straightforward enough. The high ball on a wet old night.
Well, Canada must look at what happened there. They must use the ball sensibly. They can put France under pressure in exactly the same way, as long as they're kicking spot on.
Good hanging restart there from Pritchard, but equally well gathered by Bonaire. There's Parra. William Servat talking about the inspiration of 1987. Well, that man Servat, the eldest man in the starting 15 here, he would have been 9 back in 87, but he's been involved in 1 or 2 French campaigns here since. They've got such a good record in this part of the world. There's Munro. Aaron Carpenter, the number 8. Plays his club rugby in the Championship in England, formerly with Coventry, now with Plymouth Albion. There's Sinclair. There's Chauncey O'Toole. Those two really impressed during the Churchill Cup in the English summer. Hoisted by Munro. Same tactic. Oh, it's gone loose. The fullback's missed it. It's loose. Have they got the try? They certainly think they have, and it's been awarded. Well, they're not slow learners, are they? And it looks as if it's Ryan Smith who's gone through to get the final touch. There he is. His first try in the World Cup. Ryan Smith. His 49th appearance today for Canada.
What a stunner from Munro, though. Anything you can do, I can do better. The chase of the kick from Van der Merwe. The ball bounced loose. What an incredible response there. Ryan Smith touching the ball down, but pandemonium in the French defence.
Well, Marc Lièvremont can't get through a fortnight without selecting Damien Traoré in his team. He seems to find a place for him in almost every lineup. I wonder if he's regretting his call there. Pritchard makes it a 7-pointer. Well, we've got quite a game, haven't we?
Well, we've seen a few up and unders in this Rugby World Cup so far, so being used today with devastating effect. 2 tries, 2 mistakes. Van der Merwe certainly put pressure on there, but it was the pinpoint accuracy of Ander Munro, the fly half who used to ply his trade for Edinburgh and the Heriots Club back in Edinburgh.
Well gathered there by Carpenter. Back to Ander Munro. Yes, Munro, he actually represented Scotland, didn't he, at 3 age groups. Born in Toronto. Played relatively recently in Italy for one of the lower league clubs there, but now living back in Canada. Missed a lot of rugby at the start of the season with Ander Munro. Made his return at the Churchill Cup in June, which was another very successful one for Canada. In that 16 tournament, in each of the last 2 years, Canada have got through to the final. And it wasn't the straightest, was it?
Well, the knock-on as well coming in, so the mistakes. Well, you can think about, we've had a number of handling errors already, and we've only got less than 10 minutes on the clock. By the end of the game, it's going to be well into double figures. It's which team copes with the conditions well, who concentrates when that ball is either up in the air or along the ground or when it's being passed. So important to ensure that you protect the ball and the possession.
Crunch.
There's Fufu, Fulgence Ouedraogo.
Pause. Engage. Wind up.
Penalty to Canada. Penalised Jean-Baptiste Fuchs for binding. Well, the French have had problems with their #1 position. The left prop, as they call it in France, the loose head. Thomas Domingo of Clermont-Auvergne. He picked up an injury towards the end of the last French season, not available to come. Fabien Barcella, who maybe a couple of weeks towards the end of 2009 was the best loose head in the world. Well, he's been injured virtually ever since, although he is here. And he got through 80 minutes at the weekend, but Jean-Baptiste Poux there, being put through his paces by Jason Marshall. He's been right in the thick of it, hasn't he, in the first few minutes, James Pritchard? And that one just pushed wide. But those are the sort of opportunities that Canada have to take here.
Well, that's one way of wearing a fur coat. Keep you warm in this weather. Tronduc surely will go long there. The press defence will come on from France. They'll come up in a line. And indeed, Tronduc goes for the long one.
Carpenter just let it bounce. He saw Monroe steaming towards the ball. And again, the tactic working. Taken on by Carpenter. There's Fairhurst to Monroe. Van der Merwe, who's got real speed, has spent a lot of his time playing rugby on the wing. Fairhurst again.
Roll away, 7. Onside 4.
There's Marshall. Feeding the left wing, Phil McKenzie.
Yeah.
McKenzie, who plays for Isha. Fairhurst. He's putting his head down there with Hubert Bidens. That's the France 22. Back to Monroe, the attempt at the drop. He struck it well, but he has just pulled it wide.
Canada with all the pressure. That was good purchase on the drop goal. Just didn't get the direction, Monroe. But a good effort here. Just squeezed to the left. But sprightly start by Canada. They've got the ricochets off the high balls, and they should just continue with that tactic. It's profitable.
Now, past history shows that France have beaten Canada 6 times out of 7. The only Canadian victory coming 17 years ago. But there was a significant result involving these two nations just 15 months ago at the Churchill Cup in Denver, where Canada beat a France A side 33-27. It was a cracking contest. And that French team included Maxime Médard and a host of full internationals. Julien Dupuis, I can remember, started at 9. And more than half of this starting 15 here for Canada were involved in that game. One point I would make is that the conditions were rather different. It was steaming hot in Denver, Colorado. Not the same here in Napier.
Well, Van der Merwe just bulleted his pass there.
Number 1.
And France will be able to settle. Good movement from Monroe. Van der Merwe, look at this, just a little bit fired at Chauncey O'Toole. O'Toole who spilt and then got bundled into touch.
Yes, they're France A side, coached by Olivier Magna, who was over here in New Zealand. Fabien Pelouse, I remember, was the team manager. It was quite an embarrassing evening. And that will certainly be a source of inspiration. But this time, penalised is Jason Marshall, the Canada tight head.
An interesting set of scrums. Jean-Baptiste Poux, he was penalised for slipping his binding up against Marshall. Marshall, in that case, and that time penalised, and Tronduc will just clear down towards the 22.
He's made good meterage as well, has Tronduc.
I was going to say a bit of pressure came on from the second row as well on this Canadian 8.
The 3 bearded wonders there in the Canadian side have attracted a lot of publicity, particularly Adam Kleberger after his massive performance against Tonga. The other 2, Jeb Sinclair, on his way to London Irish after the tournament, and the loosehead Hubert Bidens. There it is for France. Familiar position there of Servat, popping out the tackle from Sinclair. He had Pooks for support. There it is for Para. Through goes Tranduk.
Move away, 4.
There's Para again to Servat. Good continuity from France here.
Onside, yeah.
There's Pascal Papé over the ball with Miloslavski alongside him. Also Louis Picamol, that goes to Pooks. Solid defence though from the Canadians. There's Luc Ducalcon, the Castres tight head. Very powerful man.
Run away, Red! Red tackling, number 9.
And penalised is the scrum half, Ed Fairhurst. So there's 3 points there if they want them.
Yeah, that was the first time we've seen actually France go through a number of phases of possession. Right from the line out, they then took the drive off the back, and it was just considered play. A lot tighter, a lot better from France.
Yes, going into tonight's game, New Zealand top of the table in Pool A with 10 points. France in second with 5 points, having got the try bonus point against Japan at the weekend. Canada with 4 after that win against Tonga. Tonga having picked up a losing bonus point in that game. They're down in 4th place. Japan yet to get off the mark. Of course, results elsewhere over the course of the last 24 hours or so. What a second weekend we're having at the World Cup. Well, they really have turned the draw upside down, haven't they? One half of the draw looking very much like it belongs to the Southern Hemisphere, and the other to the home countries. Well, there we go. And France, of course. Morgan Para. Another successful kick there from the scrum half. All tied up, 10 points apiece.
Yeah, just on that last bit of play from France, William Servat absolutely key. His line-out throw was absolutely on the button. He was the one who took a couple of the drives on, so important play from Servat.
There's a try scorer, Vincent Clair.
Far side, Red!
Tranduk is standing deep, but it first goes to Servat, who makes a couple of metres. This will be back to the fly half. Good dummy. Through 3 tackles, he did well in the end of the fly half. He could so easily have come unstuck a bit there. Para just burrowing away for all the ball, but he's got himself tied in. And the Canadian hands there involved in the ruck. And there's Jamie Cudmore. The man who, well, he brings a bit of mongrel to any pack he's in, doesn't he, Scott?
He certainly does. Got himself into a bit of bother in the Heineken Cup against Munster when he got sent off early doors a couple of seasons ago. But on that occasion, the big second row, the Canadian second row went over the top. He was rightly penalised. You cannot handle, once that ruck forms, you cannot handle.
Well, it looks as if Jean-Baptiste Pooks is going to have to go on here. Fabien Barcella will come on and replace him on a temporary basis. Any game time that Fabien Barcella can get will be very valuable. There had been a lot of concern in France that maybe Barcella was being rushed back. Picked up a bicep injury during the summer, but there's quite a sizable cut there, isn't there?
Yeah, there'll be a couple of stitches in that one. See, just as he goes, oh, he just caught a stud there from the flying boot of Biden's. Biden's just getting off the ground. He actually wearing the number 1 jersey. Look at the stud just come round, just clips him in the face. So just one of these nasty ones that occasionally happens on a rugby field, but he'll soon be stitched up and back on.
There is Barcella. He's got that bicep quite heavily strapped up, actually. Missed all of last season after rupturing an Achilles tendon, and that was in an Espoir game. That is essentially the second 15 down at Biarritz over the same weekend as the top 14 started, so it was, what, the middle of August last year. Missed all of last season. And really rushed back into this France squad for the World Cup. There goes Para. 8 metres inside the Canada half. Vincent Clair, little dummy, bit of a slip, back up and running. Miloslavski. Servat puts his head down. Para again to Tranduk. There's Momoz, combining with Damien Try.
Run away, 12!
Pascal Papé, who plays for Stade Francais, another club who've been through a few ups and downs in the last year or two. Marty, through goes David Marty, he's got Bonaire and also Vincent Clair, but the ball just behind Vincent Clair. But it was a terrific break there from the Perpignan centre.
Yeah, David Marty shows well. He's a good runner once he gets into his stride. Just couldn't quite find his winger on the outside.
Man down in the way.
What I liked about France's last line-out throw, Servat absolutely nailed Julien Bonaire. Bonaire round to Morgan Parra. Those two, of course, played in Bourgoin for quite a few seasons, and it's a great linkage. And those are the linkages within the game of rugby union that you need to get going.
Yes, there's no doubt that Marty and Mermoz will feel comfortable.
Yes.
They've combined so well for a couple of seasons now at Perpignan.
Stay blue.
That was Jeb Sinclair we got a glimpse of. London Irish fans should take a note. I'm sure he'll be part of the
Line out over.
Premiership campaign when he gets back. The line-out option there at the front was a man on his way to the Ospreys, Chauncey O'Toole.
Back off blue.
Tidied up superbly there by Bonaire. Parra. There's Tranduc. Damien Try in the line. There's Aurélien Rougerie. Rougerie finding Marty. Back the other way this time. Luc Ducalcon. That time going a little loose.
Black time red.
Parra reacted swiftly and did well. Through the first quarter of the match, it's France 10, Canada 10. Tranduc with a tactic which has worked a couple of times for either side tonight. Rougerie was there, back goes Van der Merwe. Van der Merwe doing incredibly well. Through a third tackle, just brushing off Ouedraogo. But the kick, I'm afraid, wasn't up to it really. That was comfortable for Damien Try. Here comes Vincent Clair, the little chip ahead. Scampering after it is Tranduc, but the ball just runs harmlessly into touch.
Oh, Vincent Clair, he had men over.
Okay, I've seen him. He's out of the way. Play on.
Injury there for Kleberger. Well, the injury is actually a contact lens, isn't it?
Yes, Adam Kleberger now back playing in Canada after a spell at the Rotherham Titans. Also came over to New Zealand, played a couple of games in the NPC for Auckland. But he went back to Canada when he picked up an injury, and he's been out for a long time as Kleberger, so he's timed his return well. Pat Ryden, the hooker, also the captain. And a bit of a fumble there from Chauncey O'Toole. The referee, though, saying it went backwards. Fairhurst being told to go, Eddie. That's for McKenzie to get after. Picked up by Picamole. Keep your eye on Picamole, because for a big fella, he really does have the softest hands. Tranduc, the cross kick. You can see how Marty was waiting for that. And offloads to Rougerie. Rougerie can't gather it. Referee playing advantage here to Canada. Fairhurst getting knocked backwards, but the referee saying no advantage. So we'll come back for the scrummage. It'll be a Canada ball.
Yeah, another error just creeping in. Just the rain is just a little bit softer. Tranduc just with a short chip kick there, but well snuffed out by Canada. They got the men and numbers there just to put more pressure.
There's David Marty, who started 5 of France's 6 matches in the last World Cup. So there were 1 or 2 people around, the bookmakers included, who were calling a comfortable win for France tonight, but I think anybody who knows France rugby, and also the rise of Canada over the course of the last couple of seasons, would have said it's going to be a good deal closer.
Move back blue.
And so it has been through the first 20. Fairhurst feeding his captain Ryden. got Bidens with him.
Yeah.
There's Fairhurst again. Monroe looks up, sees some space. The ball skids off the surface. Well played, though, by Van Sinclair. There's Damien Try. Oh, and Try getting himself wrapped up by the try scorer for Canada, Ryan Smith. But France do have it.
21, lost his feet.
Well, one thing about Try there, he just bought himself time. They can now resettle France, now build from here.
Serba.
Ball is out.
Really solid defence there from Canada. Back to Tranduc. Monroe waits for it. Pritchard. He's got Kieran Hearn alongside him, as well as O'Toole as well out there. There goes Pritchard.
Oh, Pritchard should have fed Carpenter on the inside. They've got the penalty, but the fullback had a smashing run. Readjusted his line. He should have offloaded, and Carpenter had a run through into the 22.
So there is Morgan Parra. One or two people have been suggesting here that maybe Morgan Parra should be started at 10 because it works so well with Dimitri Yashvili at 9 and Morgan Parra at 10 through the closing stages at North Harbour.
Watch Pritchard here, off his left shoulder, on the left. Here comes Carpenter. There was when the pass could have been delivered. That could have kept the momentum going on, but as you can see, a French hand was in there. They're rolling away from the tackle. But certainly this guy, James Pritchard, he's caught the eye, hasn't he, in this World Cup? Played an excellent game against Tonga.
And he also knows this kick rather well, doesn't he? It's his third attempt from a very similar part of the field. Successful with one of those two. 2 out of 3 on the night. Drifting wide again, and for a kicker of his quality, even on a grim old night like this, he would expect to land certainly 2 out of the 3, if not all 3 of them.
Yeah, it's so important for Canada. If they just nick those 2 penalties, suddenly another 6 points on the board makes all the difference.
There's Jean-Baptiste Poux. Looks like he spent 5 minutes with the corner man, doesn't he? Plenty of Vaseline and various other bits and pieces. Carpenter fumbles but recovers. Ouedraogo is straight up there along with Maxime Memoz. Has the halfway line. Monroe. It's Picamole. Oh, losing it forward. And it's stolen by Kleberger. Up to the 22. And look at the red jerseys. Fairhurst. Leads Marshall. Marshall is a very mobile prop indeed. I saw him score a wonderful try during the Churchill Cup in the summer. Back from Fairhurst. Monroe. Head down there from Cudmore. And superbly defended by the French.
Yeah, very good. Jamie Cudmore, the big lock wearing the number 5 jersey for Canada. He was isolated, wasn't he? And he got picked off by 3 or 4 French tacklers. There was the ball spill. Kleberger, his angle of running and his ability to pick up that ball was superb. Continuity and support came in. This was the isolation. Papi in with a tackle, wasn't that superb? Bonner goes in, Ouedraogo goes in, and that's all the ball for France. I'll leave the translation to you, Martin.
Well, there is Adam Kleberger. He's really caught the eye, and it's not just because of the beard. He had a great game at the weekend. I suppose by the standards of modern rugby, for a back row forward, he's just a little bit on the short side, isn't he? He's not the biggest man.
Oh, he's strong though. I sometimes wonder what's living in these beards because they've attracted so much media comment, press comment, pictures all over the national newspapers here. And I read an article the other day. He can't wait to cut it off, but he won't do it until Canada depart these shores. And of course, from a Canadian perspective, well, they're hoping to stay right the way through.
Nanyak Dala, we just got a glimpse of there. Good sevens player. Sean White is there, Tyler Hodson. from Plymouth Albion. Scott Franklin on the end, used to play for Brive in France before ending his time in Europe. There's a Basque flag, the Biarritz club, well represented in the crowd here. Biarritz represented on the pitch here by Damien Tribe, and also Fabien Barcella having come off the bench. So Picamole, the decoy run there from the scrum half. There's Tranduk Marty again, getting wrapped up by Kieran Hearn and also by Ander Munro. Servat. How many yards does he make over the course of 80 minutes? Not only for France, but also his club when he's playing in the French league. Scores a lot of tries for a hooker as well, does William Servat. But there's Marc Liévrand in the middle. Didier Retière alongside him. Dave Ellis on the left, the Englishman, the Yorkshireman, in fact. It's going to be sore in the morning, isn't it?
You better not have a shave and pop the aftershave on afterwards. I think Joubert, I think, wants some medical treatment on that because it's so important to stem the flow of any blood there.
I can see your stitches. Quit investing it.
Well, the referee's saying that I can see your stitches. I want some more Vaseline on there, please. So on come the cuts man. Look at those handling errors, eh?
Yeah, quite significant, and that's all down to some good kicking from Ander Munro, but also the fact that Canada have actually pressurised. Whenever a kick's gone through, they've pressurised well, they've come up in a line. Well balanced this game, 10-all. France need to assert their authority because Canada have actually played very, very well.
McLean Park here in Napier, more associated these days with cricket.
Pause.
In fact, this could well be the scene of a bit of cricket history in January. Next month's trials go to plan. We'll see the first day-night test match here between New Zealand and Zimbabwe in January. Playing with a pink ball, they tell me.
Well, what a cracking kick by Ed Fairhurst, the Canadian 9. Watch this for a superb bit of skill. End-on-end kick. You see how it runs away from Damien Try. Try's positioning was more centre field, wasn't it, rather than down the 15 and tram lines. Now, can Canada put the squeeze on Servat's throw-in?
Well, it's certainly Servat's most important throw of the night so far. Straight over the back. It was well read by Chauncey O'Toole. It's Mamaz who comes away with it. I'm not sure it went to plan, but France do at least have it. Look at Tranduk here waiting for it. Didn't have much time. And considering the circumstances and the conditions, he did rather well.
Yeah, good clearance, finds a good safe touch there.
He really is a gifted footballer, is Francois Tranduk. Played a major part in Montpellier's challenge. They went all the way to the top 14 final last season. Fulgence Ouedraogo, the captain of the club, actually played that French final with a broken hand. Ed Fairhurst just confirming the call. Less than 10 minutes to go to half-time. The captain, Riordan, finds Sinclair. There's Fairhurst, there's Munro, DTH van der Merwe. On the France 22. There's Pritchard. That's Sinclair. France defending their 22 very well here. Ouedraogo just wrapping up the Canadian. The try scorer Smith. I think Marty realised that the tackle was going in a bit high and then just pulled his arm away.
And watch Servat right in there. He's got hands on that ball. This is going to be a turnover here.
But there it is. Pooks plays scrum half. Para. There goes Ouedraogo combining with his back row partner Picamole. There's Picamole again. Vincent Clair with a bit of space, a little chip over the top, but it was on the outside of the boot. The execution. Well, the idea was good, but the execution not really up to it, I'm afraid.
Well, that counter-attack came from a great defensive alignment from the French. Wonderful play, but the turnover came from Servat. Duke into Clark. You don't see him make too many errors when he's popping one down the sideline. But France very comfortable on the defence.
Well, now there's only 2 Frenchmen who've scored more test tries than Vincent Clerc. He came into the game, 4th equal with Philippe Benassal and Emile Ntamak. Ntamak, who's a member of the coaching staff here. Well, there's Clerc. The ball bobbing up and down, but it went forward. Clerc doesn't understand why. Gives the evil eye at Meneer Joubert from South Africa.
Well, I thought Canada had almost pinched that one. Look at that, 7 handling errors. Another good kick by Canada. They've benefited from this tactic. Let's have another look. Oh, it was off his shoulder, wasn't it? Very good balanced game this. Now Canada, can they follow out this half with another score?
Well, Canadian confidence will be growing. Good shove though from the France pack. Monroe. That's meant for Mackenzie. Claire's underneath it. And I think that went off the Canadian hand. It did indeed. There's Phil Mackenzie. Plays for Isha, as does his brother, who's also a member of this squad. Jamie, he's the scrum half. Number 2, in fact number 3 here actually.
Yeah, I would like to see Mackenzie jump up for that ball and actually got it back. Look at the number of Canadian shirts that were there.
Leshlovsky of Toulouse claiming the ball. And once again, France finding themselves in their own 22. There's Servat.
White thread.
Para on his preferred left boot. There's Mackenzie. Wrapped up by Vincent Clerc, who hacks it forward. Picked up by Pritchard. He's found a bit of space. Across comes Damien Try. And Try, who has one of the biggest boots in European rugby. And Canada have come offside. I think it was Chauncey O'Toole who was... there he is. Picked out by Craig Joubert.
Duke looking to put the ball down into that touchline. And it's so important, such a feature of many of the games in this Rugby World Cup is the teams that score around this period of time. The 5 minutes to go, we saw this afternoon Samoa come back and score a try against Wales. How important could that have been? But it was Wales who then came out on top on that game. And France, well, now they've got an opportunity to maybe stick another 3 points on the board, either through a penalty, either through a drop goal, but they also have the ability through this pack of forwards to get over the Canadian line.
It's been a remarkable weekend. Could it come to an end with perhaps the biggest story of all? There goes Picamoll. Has the ball in his hands, but he's got himself a penalty. He'll keep hold of this. He'll be looking for the kicking tee now.
And it's funny, I'm sure as a coach, Kieran Crowley, of course, the former All Black, it's desperately frustrating for coaches sometimes to give away a penalty like that so close to half-time.
Yes, Kieran Crowley, 19 caps for New Zealand, played and coached on the other side of the country at New Plymouth with Taranaki.
Yeah, you may have heard Ryan Smith saying that he was a bit trapped in there. And Joubert said, well, pull your legs out. Try and make the effort. I think if there's intent to go get away from the ball, then you're not going to get penalised. So Para has an opportunity to nudge one over.
Perfect so far, 2 from 2. Almost straight in front. Well, about 33, 34 metres. And he maintains his 100% record. France have edged in front.
Well, I'm sure going in at half-time, Canada undoubtedly will come out in the second half full of confidence. They're not afraid of this French team. France, though, they'll want to impose themselves far more up front on this Canadian 8.
Well, omens for Canada are good at McLean Park in Napier. They played here back in 1987 in their opening game in the Rugby World Cup. They beat Tonga 33 points to 4. There haven't been too many internationals played since. The All Blacks won here 51-10 against Samoa. That was in 1996, but most of the international sport here since has been of the cricketing variety.
Well, James Pritchard there jogging back. And of course, he has missed 2 penalties. Good take by Ander Munro. Under pressure, Clark straight up on his feet. Lance Sinclair straight on his feet, but Pritchard had come in from an offside position. And Morgan Parra has an opportunity to add another 3 points. Thanks, Mitty.
Very clean contact. 4 out of 4 for the little scrum half. All in the garden is rosy for Morgan Parra. They lead now by 6.
Well, we talked, what, 3 minutes ago about going in at half-time, 10-all. France have just nudged ahead with 2 late penalties.
Pape did well there. There goes Pooks. Ball not controlled. Well, it's a penalty.
Clear release. I didn't see that.
Chauncey O'Toole thinks he's been dealt an injustice. Duke misses touch. There's Pritchard.
Well, he's returned the ball with a bit of interest. Duke, though, missing touch. You know, another inexcusable one from a coach's perspective. That should just be meat and drink for a fly half, just dinking his forwards up front. They've got the throw in. And this man here, William Serva, he has played very well. He's carried the ball well. He's thrown the ball well at line-outs. He, for me, has been the solidity in this French team.
Fired down by Ouedraogo on his scrum half. Oh, terrific little offload. Lance Sinclair right into the action again. There's Parra. Trinduk, Pape. Another big carry from the Stade Francais, lock forward. David Marty. We've certainly seen more of Marty than we have of Momoz so far. Another penalty. And more red jerseys offside.
And just a combination of penalties and ill-discipline from Canada have just opened up the game to France. They've gifted them 3 penalties. They've gifted them 9 points. I'm sure Parra's going to nail this one as well. And suddenly Canada, from a position of being 10-all at half-time, and indeed with Pritchard's penalties, they could have been 16-10 ahead. They're actually 19 points to 10. They must be kicking themselves.
That was Pat Ryden, the Canada captain. So Parra takes his personal tally to 14 points. And in the last few minutes of that opening half, France have been allowed to open up a bit of a gap. Half-time in Napier, France lead by 9.
France 19, Canada 10 into the second half at Napier. Canada, like Samoa and Georgia earlier today, resilient so far in that first half, but 3 quick penalties from France in the last few minutes of that opening half. You start to fear a little bit for Canada now.
Canada have been competitive up to now, but I have to say France look in complete control, and I'm sure if you're the French coach in there, Marc Liebherr will be saying much more the same, please. If we can nick a try, then great, but otherwise, you know, let's just keep putting pressure on them.
They'll be trying to make a bit of a statement too.
Yeah.
You know, they've got the All Blacks next week. Bogey team for the All Blacks. You know, if they can put sort of 30, 40 points on a Canadian team that will be struggling, having to back up after, you know, I think they'll sort of run out a bit of gas in the second half. But yeah, the French could, you know,
I've been impressed
a few
with
shivers.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Morgan Perra and Francois Trinduc. Their combination has put the forwards are running forward in very difficult conditions. Morgan Perra has kicked all the goals, and he's been a little general behind the scrum. So Livremont, that's a big tick. These two guys, they can play any conditions, and they're comfortable in each other's presence.
Okay, 19-10 into the second half at Napier. We're back with Scott Hastings and Martin Gillingham.
So the team ranked 5 in the world, leading the team ranked 14. And I would have thought, Scott, the next 10 minutes or so, crucial for Canada. They must stop the bleeding, mustn't they?
Yeah, very much so. And, you know, they really should have gone in at half-time 10 points all, but they succumbed to 3 penalties by Para. So, can Canada get themselves back in the game? What have France learned from that first 40?
Just a little bit of a knock on there. That's all it takes from Julien Bonner. The weather report, well, it's certainly much better than it was an hour ago. The rain has stopped. There's still some surface water about around the perimeters.
Yeah, the 2 key areas for me were the number of errors from France. They've got to eliminate that. I think that was up to 8. And the penalty account. 8 penalties against Canada. And that's ultimately what's cost them the scoreline so far.
So it's Fairhurst with the put-in. Solid Canadian scrummage. There's Munro. Van der Merwe. Van der Merwe, who, as his name would suggest, lived his early years in South Africa, in the Boerland. He went with his family to Canada when I think he was 15. Now playing his club rugby, though, in Scotland for Glasgow. There's McKenzie. Half through, good offload. Fairhurst back to Munro. Through goes Cudmore. Back to the fly half again. The ball hoisted, not really enough depth on that, but the referee's blown his whistle. And, it's a Frenchman who's come offside. And it's Romain Miller-Schlusky. There he is.
Well, James Pritchard's got an opportunity to amend the 2 missed kicks that he missed in the first half. It's just you can just see the big second row there from Toulouse just stepping out of line. Craig Joubert straight away. And France have been so settled on their defensive alignment that really there was no need for him to come in off an offside position there.
Well, it was one of the directives from Paddy O'Brien, wasn't it? The offside line, and Romain Miller-Schlusky getting a good couple of metres in front of it there. So James Pritchard, only deadly off the kicking tee. In excess of 80% in the championship last season. Did well on the opening night against Tonga. Really, that was a snap hook, wasn't it? What a night on which to have a bad night.
Yeah, that's 9 points that Canada have left out there. Marty passes the ball back to Tronduc. And again, once again, the man from Montpellier will reset.
Could hang time on that. Well, that was superbly taken by Sinclair. There is the France 22. Fairhurst feeds his fly half Munro. There's Smith, the try scorer, the long pass. Gathered by Pritchard, who spins through the tackle. Smith again. Marshall. Well, the Canadians just getting in one another's way there. That was Hubert Bidens who was getting knocked off the ball. Monroe, the attempt at the drop goal. He struck it nicely. And it's 3 points.
Well, Ander Monroe, he missed one in the first half, but he struck it well. And that one, he got the direction there well. So they get the 3 points back. And Monroe, who's actually played very well, alongside his half-back partner, Ed Fairhurst, just claws back that scoreline. That looks a little bit more palatable from a Canadian perspective.
It's a rotten old night for a lot of people playing rugby here, but particularly for full-backs and half-backs as well. Parra and Tranduk did well in the first half. That was a great catch from Picamole. And Monroe has been working well with Fairhurst as well. Well, Parra is off, turning his back on the chance for 3 points. I'm not sure if that will entirely please Marc Lièvremont. I suppose if it didn't, he won't be frightening in telling us at the post-match press conference, because that has been a moan and the groan from the French players that the straight words have been spoken in public by Marc Lièvremont over the course of the last few months. There's Parra again to Ducalcon. Getting caught there by his club teammate. That was Cudmore. There's Picamole. Back to Morgan Parra. Tranduk looking there perhaps for the drop goal, but instead he goes through 2 tackles. It's stolen by O'Toole. Mackenzie running along the line of his own 22. He was in about 4 different minds there. It's turned over, but then it's spilt by Parra. But it will be a scrummage and a France ball.
Well, some of the exciting running from Tranduk there. He often does that. He just sets the ball up, dummies and goes. And on that occasion, the recipient, Phil Mackenzie, came back on the angle. And as you said, Martin, he was just caught in so many minds. Sometimes it's better just to clear your mind, settle on one option. Tranduk, though, he offloaded in the pass here to Chauncey O'Toole. O'Toole intercepted. He sort of spun the ball on. He ran away from his support, did the Canadian flanker. And then Mackenzie ran back against the grain. And he showed the dummy, but then was bumped into the rather foreboding figure of Jean-Baptiste Poux. Poux going off for more treatment. It's a nasty little cut. He caught the fleeing brute in the first half of the tool, I think it was. Caught him with a stud. Purely accidental, of course.
So replaced again by Fabien Barcella.
Crouch. Touch. Pause. Engage.
One of the controversial selections made by Marc Lièvremont was leaving Sylvain Marcanet at home. A man who can play on either side of the front row, but it's a penalty now to France, and this time Morgan Parra will just accept the gift there of 3 points. And the binding there of Jason Marshall being spotted by the referee.
Yeah, Canada once again just guilty of giving away the 3 points. The binding of Jason Marshall slipping there. And words coming in for his more experienced second-row colleague, Jamie Cudmore. I think he realises his errors.
So Morgan Parra gives France their 9-point lead back.
Yeah, Parra with 4 penalties and a conversion. The conversion of Vincent Clerc's try in the first 5 minutes, wasn't it? An up and under, followed up by Clerc.
You have to feel some sympathy for Jason Marshall, the Canada tight head, up against a fresh Fabien Barcella, who may not be 100% fit at the moment, but he gave a torrid old time to, it was John Smith at Toulouse a couple of years ago when France beat South Africa. That was Sinclair. There's O'Toole going down the short side. Miloslavski made the tackle. There goes Marshall. Ball's back there for Fairhurst. Munro looking for the offload. Kieran Hearn was looking for the ball, coming off his right wing. That's the captain, Ryden. The attempt at the drop again from Munro. And again, he's successful. Well.
A wry smile there from Ander Munro. What about this for a little bit of a snap? You heard Cudmore shouting back there that he'd lost the ball, and suddenly, well, did not David Marty's body language sum it all up?
Gathered by Carpenter. Comes out of his 22. Maxime Mermoz in there making the tackle. The referee just checking again on the offside line.
And you just wonder if this game's still got a little bit more in it. I still feel that Canada need to score next. They need to keep on adding to that total. Because if France get a breakaway or get another try, you really feel as though the game will run away from Canada.
Well, I do have to remind you of that Churchill Cup contest 15 months ago in Denver at Infinity Park. Canada beating France A 33-27, a very strong France A side. Good two-handed take from Ouedraogo, the little chip over the top from Tranduk.
Body check 13.
But the body check coming from DTH van der Merwe.
No, it's not on the kicker.
And I think it was on Maxime
The check is
Mermoz.
not on the kicker, it's on someone chasing the kick. You don't get the option.
And Mermoz was just taken out right off the ball. Here's the snap drop goal once again. The second from Munro. It was an absolute peach, wasn't it?
Where you are, standing where you are.
There was DTH van der Merwe just closing the door on the number 12 jersey of France, Maxime Mermoz.
It's going to be a tough old call for Marky Avremont in terms of his starting 9. Dimitri Yashvili has been his 9 of choice most recently. Para here putting in a good shift, not only off the kicking tee, and as I say that, well, he misses one from virtually straight in front.
Yeah, the old commentator's curse.
Different ball thrown on by a ball boy. You can't take advantage of it quick. Do it
No,
again.
it's a different ball, we're being
Ball from the ball
told,
boy,
being
don't
thrown
get that
on
advantage,
from
do that
the ball
quick.
boy.
Just give them time.
Craig Joubert explaining that because of that they can't take the restart quickly. So Canada within 6 inside the last half hour. Tranduk sends it up into the night sky. Pritchard confident under that ball. Back from Fairhurst. There's Munro. It was well read and well controlled by Damien Try. And Try has gone to ground as well. Cudmore's knocked it on. Referee says play on, fed by Barcella. There's Maxime Mermoz. Try is still down, by the way. Tranduk. There's Marty. The kick across. Vincent Clair is steaming after it on the far side. And then, with a bit of assistance, he hurdles the advertising board. Well, it's getting a bit spicy.
Yeah, I must say, I thought that, well, let's listen to Craig Joubert, the referee, because obviously words are going to be said here. Here's the incident here, the kick that had gone into the corner. Pritchard had it covered. There he goes, just nudges him a wee bit. I think it's a lot more now. And I also think the previous one on try as well, it wasn't of issue. Try got straight back up again.
So we're talking penalty on a number? Okay, thanks.
Well, the advice
15?
is a penalty.
15.
And he's going to have a word with James Pritchard.
Who's 15? Hey, look, we appreciate it looks more spectacular than it is. Yes, but it's a push without the ball, so it's a penalty.
Well, what do you make of that? If we didn't have advertising boards, it wouldn't be an issue, would it?
Absolutely, and as Gilbert said, it looked more spectacular than it was, so just carry on with the play. Look, it's a little nudge. Well, I feel sorry for the Canadians on that occasion.
And Vincent Clair actually jumped himself, didn't he? I know he was forced that way.
Absolutely, he could have stopped and not gone over there, but the decision's been made and the game will go on. And interestingly enough, with the penalty, France went for that kick, so a 5-yard throw in the line-out. Servat comes across, has a word with... Well, it's a switch in play, actually, switching hookers.
So it's Guillaume Garrado coming on for William Servat. So now all of the members of the France squad who are actually here in New Zealand have had game time. I say that because Jean-Marc Dussin, who's been called in to replace David Skrella having picked up that shoulder injury. Well, Dussin was playing for Toulouse on Friday night. Here's the drive. Bonaire's got the ball in hand. That's the Canada try line. The red jerseys defending bravely here. Look at Pascal Pape looking for the ball. Behind him is Ouedraogo. There it is, Bonaire dropping his shoulder. So it will be a put-in at the scrummage for France.
Well, Canada defending bravely there. Pascal Pape there. Thought he was over. They had the momentum. Canada appealing to Craig Joubert that they held the man up in the tackle. So a tackle ball on the ground. You heard Joubert say that's why France have got the put-in again. Really crucial aspect of the game. If France score here, if they score a try, you really feel that's the game for them.
And you get a sense there's a move perhaps involving Vincent Clair. Francois Tranduc, Maxime Amars and Clair in animated discussion.
Stand up. Your head and shoulders up and your bind long.
So France lead by 22 points to 16. We've still got 25 minutes remaining.
Touch. Touch. Pause. Engage.
There it is for Picamole. Fairhurst did well, as did Kleberger. Well, the Canadians think they've turned it, and they have.
Yes.
Forward goes Bidens. Chauncey O'Toole. How important might that be in the context of the contest?
Yeah, great defending there from Canada off that line out. Yeah, good applause there from the Canadian support. Indeed, it was from the scrum, my apologies. But Ed Fairhurst right in there, Kleberger right round as well. But it was more what happened after that. The Canadian Pat went over the top, turned the ball off the French.
So it's the Perpignan hooker, Guillaume Garrado. There's Para to Tranduc. Mamors getting wrapped up by his opposite number, the try scorer for Canada, Ryan Smith. The pressure, though, again coming from France. That was Miloslawski. Girardeau, the likes of Girardeau and Barcella really are explosive in the loose. Back to Tranduk, the attempt at the drop, and it's good.
Well, it's certainly been a game for the half-backs. Tranduk slots over a drop goal when the pressure was needed. Para just delivered it back, Tranduk back in the pocket. It was an easy swing, wasn't it? Probably about a 7-iron.
Right, I've seen him play on. I've seen him, we're playing on.
So the referee's saying we're playing on, despite the fact there is a Frenchman down in the Canadian half. It is Pascal Pape, who's now back up and running. Gathered by Picamole. Cudmore missed the tackle altogether there, didn't he?
Yeah, Picamole's played well. He's fielded a couple of high balls, some rampaging runs.
Terrific little show and go from Morgan Para. Just sniping around the fringes, which really is a characteristic of his play. Well, they've turned it again. Here comes Bidens. Van Sinclair drags him down. Back from Fairhurst. Fed out from Sinclair. Here's DTH van der Merwe. Dummying to Kieran Hearn inside the France 22. Monroe. There's Cudmore. Fairhurst. Well, the Canadians won't lie down. That 9-point lead is a decent cushion for France. Well, referee playing advantage here to Canada. They have a penalty coming. There goes Cudmore.
That's excellent communication amongst the Canadians. They knew they could actually pick and drive. They had a penalty coming, and indeed, Greg Joubert calls the penalty, but good play by Canada because they gave the opportunity to go for the try.
Well, Ander Munro's got the ball in hand. I think we're going to see a change of kicker here. Pat Raden's in no position to make the call. There he is, the captain. He's taken a bit of a knock. So Canada are making a change. Jamie Cudmore, I think, has gone off. Tyler Hopson of Plymouth Albion is coming on in his place. Well, James Pritchard has come up and he's grabbed the ball out of the hands there of Ander Munro. He wants another crack before he hands over the kicking duties. 3 misses. They may prove costly. There's the Plymouth Albion player, Tyler Hopson, his 22nd cap tonight. No mistake that time from Pritchard. Canada staying in touch.
You know, this has been a gutsy performance from Canada. Still 10 minutes to go. They're still in touch with the French. They've made life difficult, but they've slotted the drop goals well. They've slotted the penalties. Now they're back in touch. But on this occasion, Pat Raden, he'll be going off. And Ander Munro, was it, who'll assume the captaincy duties?
That's right, they said number 10. So Pat Raden, he leaves. He's replaced by Ryan Hamilton, playing his 6th test match tonight. That's Aaron Carpenter. Into the last 20 minutes. 6 points separate the sides. France have yet to close out the deal here. Look at Picamole. Tranduk, missing out Ouedraogo to Momoz. There's Marty getting caught. Smith has got through a lot of tackling tonight. He got the try for Canada earlier on. Most of his work since has been in defence. Here's Aurélien Rougerie, who's had a relatively quiet night. Great from Picamole. Damien try, back to Picamole. Carpenter misses him. Still going the Toulouse number 8. Now they want quick ball to the French. Tranduk, Mermoz. There it is from Para. They're outnumbered are the Canadian defenders here, but the execution not, but it's still in play. There's Van Sinclair. And eventually, with a bit of help, Ryan McKenzie gets him into touch.
Send him on red 9.
Just a little too much on the kick there from Francois Trandou.
Pick him all, he's played well, he got the support pass on the inside as well. Look at it, he broke the tackle of Carpenter, his opposite number. He's carried well, hasn't he? The cross kick, but look at Canada, McKenzie in there on Clerc. Then across comes the cover. First of all, Fairhurst. Clever play by Clare though, just to put it back into infield. I mentioned earlier on, 10 minutes to go, there's actually 20 minutes into the last quarter, so still plenty of opportunity for Canada to get into this game.
Well, they've made a change in the front row. Off has gone Jason Marshall. Also leaving his Ed Fairhurst, so Sean White is on. Scott Franklin is also on the pitch. There's Scott Franklin on the left-hand side of the picture there, formerly of Brive in France. 18.5 minutes remain. Julien Bonner there knows how important another score would be to France.
Stay bound.
Trandou. And Lamar's getting almost man and ball there. The defence is fierce from the Canadians.
Everything possible.
There's Pape. Trandou again. Marty. Try to Rougerie. And that was easily defended. And there's a foot in touch.
Yeah, good defence there from Canada. DTH Van der Merwe will require some treatment. He took a nasty knock in the tackle. There's Van der Merwe.
Well, we haven't seen too much of Aurélien Rougerie tonight, who was taken into touch there, but as we see, DTH Van der Merwe taken a blow there to the shoulder, hasn't he? But it's a minor miracle that Aurélien Rougerie is here at all. He dislocated and broke his ankle very badly in the last league game of the season last year between Clermont and Toulouse. It meant he, first of all, missed the semi-final between the two clubs a fortnight later. But Rougerie's had surgery and he's back here for the World Cup, captaining the French team tonight. But DTH Van der Merwe, well, he's leaving as well. Nyanyak Dala is also on for Canada. Very mobile back row, you can see him there with the protective headgear. So free kick to Canada.
So an opportunity from Monroe just to relieve that pressure, relieve the territory. Needs to find a good touch find.
And it is a good touch find.
Yeah, that's a great feeling up front for a forward, isn't it? You're under pressure, you believe, sent that kick down to the halfway line. So Canada still very much involved. Can they raise their game?
The replacement for DTH Van der Merwe, Connor Traynor, who plays for British Columbia, the BC Bears. So where will Gavado go? To Pape. There's Trandou, Picamole. Takes play into the Canada half. There's Rougerie, Damien Try, he's got Vincent Clerc, Try's going to go himself! Damien Try! Well, Marc Liévremont will have enjoyed that. Is that the match?
Well, a bit of individual brilliance, that's what they relied on in the match against Japan. And Try, well, the space just opened up on the far side. And again, because of the slippy conditions, he runs so well, he runs very upright. Trandou with the slip pass, Rougerie, Try scoring pass. Look at the angle that Try cut. In under the posts. Try his leg lift, steps inside the covering defence. just a balanced runner.
And Para adds the extras.
Well, France have been looking for a spark of brilliance. They finally got it. Surely that's the game now for France. Now they can close it out.
Two interesting choices ahead of the weekend. Cedric Haymans at 15, will it be? Will it be Damien Try? That was certainly a timely reminder for Marc-Lie-Evremont. The other option, of course, is Maxime Médard, who's been playing most of his rugby on the wing of late. Well, 11 changes to the starting 15 tonight, plus one positional from Marc-Lie-Evremont. Always keeps us on the edge of our seats, doesn't he, the France coach? So a chance here for Canada to set something up, but they really do need a try.
Tronduk just delaying the pass. He does play flat to the gain line at times, but on that occasion just took it up too far.
There's Fabien Barcella up against Scott Franklin on this side of the scrum. There's Carpenter. He breaks away. Oh, he's found a gap as Carpenter. He's got Darla on his shoulder. Sean White is there. Well, this is spirited stuff, isn't it, from Canada? Through goes Traynor. They won't lie down. Sean White with a dummy. A tackle from Momoz. And getting penalised there was Julien Pierre.
Canada just opting just to kick this one out. They'll reset it, but again another spirited comeback. Maybe there is just a sting in the tail. Maybe I was being a bit disrespectful. But you play what's in front of you, Canada.
Ryan Hamilton confirming the call. It's for the tail, it's for Sinclair. But it's not straight.
Oh, the execution just not right there. Well, it's been entertaining. Yes, it's been scrappy. It has been a bit stop-start. But this is Rugby World Cup 2011 in New Zealand. It's been a great occasion. Great pick-up at the back from Carpenter. Found a bit of space, but Julien Bonner, he got back well, didn't he, just to deny the number 8.
Well, the Marseillaise is ringing around Napier. At least in McLean Park, anyway. It's a bit untidy, but Picamole cleans everything up for France.
Yeah, Picamol's been strong once again, and Bonner, his back row colleague, he's been everywhere.
Well, Emmanuel Haranordaki took a lot of criticism from Marc-Lie-Evremont after the game against Japan. Will there be a way back for Raphael Lecafia? Will there be a place in the back row for Bonner? Will Haranordaki miss out? All sorts of poses for followers of French rugby ahead of the big game at the weekend at Eden Park. The try scorer, Smith. White. Monroe. Ouedraogo with the tackle. White again, a little grubber through. Darla was after it, but away comes Para. Para with a little kick. Here's Pritchard. Steps inside Momoz. Runs straight into Barcella. Franklin. Another tackle from Momoz. All a bit untidy from Canada, but somehow the ball has stayed in play until it was hacked out there and nudged out by Morgan Para.
There'll still be a French throw-in, sorry, a Canadian throw-in that hit a French foot on the way out.
Thanks.
Kieran Hearn put pressure on when that little dink kick went up the touchline. Andy Monroe, captaining his team now. He's played a pretty solid game, has Monroe.
France have reverted to that half-back partnership they had towards the end of the game against Japan. Francois Trunduc has gone off, so we've got Morgan Parra has moved from 9 to 10. Dimitri Yashvili, there you can see him wearing 20, is at 9. This may well be... Oh, and Yashvili just put it down there, but he's recovered. A lot of followers of French rugby saying that maybe the Yashvili and Parra axis at 9 and 10 really should be first pick, but Francois Trunduc had a terrific first half, didn't he? Just good to have options, I suppose. The cross kick, that's meant for Mackenzie, but Clare rose high. There's Damien Try with a kick ahead. Referee Craig Joubert said he saw that block on Try. Clearly he was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, good awareness by the outside backs. Vincent Clare on the far side, snuffing out the crossfield kick from Andy Munro. And then Try, the way he snapped up that ball, he knew exactly where to put it. As Rougerie looks on, I haven't seen a lot of him in this game. But Munro, well, he's played extremely well, hasn't he? Iriyama comes on to replace him.
So Craig Joubert telling the France side to get on with it. The clock's still running. So Canada now have a third captain. Craig Joubert just trying to resolve who it is. Taken there by Bonaire. There's Parra, Mermoz to his Perpignan teammate Marty. Back in the other direction from Yashvili. Oh, and it's fumbled by Damien Try. Here's Dalla. Look at the speed on this man. Good sevens player, Nanyak Dalla.
In touch.
There is Nanyak Dalla, originally from Nigeria. Learned his rugby, though, in Durban.
So France, well, what are they thinking? Surely they have the game wrapped up. A massive week here in New Zealand. Clash on Saturday between France and New Zealand conjures up all thoughts of brilliant rugby. But at the moment, France have just been a little bit disjointed.
Well, in fairness to them, they did show a fair amount of ambition, didn't they, in the first half? How many times you've seen French sides and things like the Heineken Cup stuff it up the jumper and just rumble their way up the field? It's often been it's characterised the play of Biarritz on wet and rainy afternoons in places like Ravenhill, but here they've slung it about a bit. On comes Maxime Médard, Aurélien Rougerie goes off.
Yeah, one of his quieter games, Rougerie, but Maxime Médard, well, he's a guy who can really turn it on. And sometimes in France, you find when you play against them, it's the waves of that blue attack, it's the pace that they can put on the game. Undoubtedly, the conditions have affected the way France have maybe played. But that's because they've also come up against a very spirited Canadian side. They can be proud of what they've brought to this game.
Pick 'em all. There it is for Yashvili. Yashvili, whose brother actually played for Georgia in the World Cup in past years.
12 offside.
This is quite a story, is Dimitri Yashvili. I think it was his grandfather who walked and got a bit of help, making the trip from Georgia to France. His father was a France international. His brother played for Georgia in the World Cup.
Good solid scrum though from Canada. You just see right in your picture, Yashvili came in, but also it was the centre, Maxime Mermoz, coming from an offside position. Pick 'em all, gets involved once again.
So less than 7 minutes to go. It's been a bit of a struggle for France, but unless something happens quite dramatic in the next couple of minutes, they're going to get away with the 4 points they were looking for. There's Sean White and Nanyak Dalla. White again, and it was Picamole dispossessing him, but Picamole has come offside. Quickly taken by Hirayama. There's Tyler Hodgson, knocked backwards by Julian Bonnet. Aaron Carpenter just offloading. Tied it up by Bidens, but well, Canada have got possession, but they're being driven backwards by France.
Yeah, you can just see that blue line by France. Look at that line on the right of your picture there. They're quite happy to set, then they'll press up.
Hirayama with a little grubber through. Well scooped up by Pascal Papé.
Move away, Red!
Yashvili onto his favoured left foot. Like his half-back partner, he prefers the left peg as well, this Morgan Parra. Pritchard inside his 22. Parra's waiting for it. Yashvili on the decoy run. Parra gets wrapped up by Ryan Hamilton, also Connor Traynor. There's Medard. Straight into Kieran Hearn. Referee says the ball went backwards. There's Sean White. Kleberger. Finds Smith. The offload of Carpenter. The ball's gone backwards again. Hacked by McKenzie. There's Hodgson. Hearn has knocked it on. Referee playing advantage here to France. We're going to come back for a scrummage. It's going to be a France ball. They'll be perfectly happy with that, the men in blue, despite the reaction there of Marc Lièvremont.
Yeah, just a scrappy ending to the game, but again, France just quite happy just to go through the phases of possession. Tara there could have actually switched with Yashvili. There was an opportunity to go down the blind side.
Off comes Fulgence Udrago, replaced by Emmanuel Haranourdaki. The Montpellier captain replaced by the man from Biarritz. We have seen one or two Basque flags around the stadium today. Just a quick glimpse there of Haranourdaki. Haranourdaki here earning his 72nd cap for France. There's Marty. Medard just spinning and turning. Parra up and running again. Tackled by Hamilton. Medard. Got such a great step. He appears to have so much time, doesn't he, Medard?
Last man's feature. Red!
Well, we were talking about the big performance and the major contribution made by Louis Picamole. He has been named the man of the match here.
Advantage, slowing it down.
Referee playing advantage now to France. Yashvili.
Previous ruck, tackler, roll away, slowing the ball down. Tackler, roll away.
So the Canadian tackler there, slowing the ball.
Well, quite a sensible option there, actually, for France, just to scrum, tie in the Canadian 8. But just a quick word on that man, number 8, Louis Picamole. Just when we needed somebody to actually get grip of the game, certainly he was that. I thought also that Servat had played well in the first half. He carried the ball well, got substituted after 20 minutes in the second half. But Picamole, a worthy winner of Man of the Match award today.
Crouch. Touch.
There's a big blind side to defend here, isn't there? See Connor Traynor. The long pass out, and it's comfortable for Vincent Clerc. Yet another try for the wing. His 28th test try. And this his 52nd cap.
Well, there was simplicity in its execution, wasn't it? McKenzie on the far side, the left winger for Canada, he was the one who was sucked in. And just the speed of thought of the overhead pass. Clerc in for the try. Pritchard Well, you saw his positioning. It was too tight to the scrum. And this guy's a finisher, isn't he? Good pass by Yashvili, wasn't it? Straight into the darting run of his winger. It's always the old adage, you pass for the man, not to the man. And on that occasion, the pass was absolutely perfect.
So his toughest test of the night so far. Successful with 7 out of 8. And he's just drawn it in. And it's now 8 out of 9. Morgan Parra's left peg on song.
Well, Canada have contributed to this game, but ultimately I think it was the experience of this French team that delivered the result. They then move on to the big one against the All Blacks next Saturday. But it was a spirited effort, and really felt that the 3 penalties bang on the first half that allowed France to go in 19-10 up just gave France the cushion to then go on to win this game.
Jean-Baptiste Fuchs has been off, I think, 3 times now, and he's come back again. Straight into the action as well, Yashvili. There's try to Mamos. Feeding Medard. This will be the last play of the match. Kleberger's taken a bit of a knock. Here's Damien try, pumping the knees, elbows out. The pick up there from Julien Pierre. France keen on finishing off it with a bit of a flourish here. There's David Marty. To Bonnet, to Vincent Clair. Just fending off Sean White. Straight into Naniak Dala. There's Barcella. Parra again. Haranordiki. That was Girardo. Through goes Mamos, and this man has got electric pace. The Medard also has. To Haranordiki. Can France finish it off? Surely they got numbers out wide here. Damien tried, Vincent Clair. It is a hat-trick.
Well, hat-trick for Clair. And typical France. The sweeping play, the angles are running. Oh, they wanted that try. Clair started that movement with a handoff deep in the 22. The triple whammy in for the little winger. Canada, well, the score doesn't really reflect the effort that they put into tonight. Just the cutback and then the support. Haranordiki got the support from Medard. But look at the numbers that France got there to clear, and then the wide over pass delivered. They've been interesting tonight, France, put it that way.
So what is Marc Liévremont going to do about his selection for the weekend? Do you know what, Scott? I'm not sure Marc Liévremont knows at the moment.
You're right. But it just shows you just how much class they've got on their team. The way the simplicity of the last 2 scores, but that sweeping, flowing movement, that is typical France.
Very nicely done from Morgan Parra. Well, it was a night on which the conditions demanded precision from France, and they've stepped up. Look at that, 46 points to 19. They've got the bonus point. France have got the job done. Now it's for the All Blacks at Eden Park at the weekend.